Hey there, confirmation class. Going to talk to you a little bit about time today. I'm thinking about the church year. It's confusing. It's different. Today, I'm making this video on Ash Wednesday. Some of you know when Ash Wednesday comes. Some of you never heard of Ash Wednesday before. That's fine. What I want to do is I want to talk to you today about the church year. It's calendar. And we're going to think about how the church year, the calendar of the church, it teaches us some important things about God and God's people, but it teaches us some really important things about time. Here's what I'm going to need you to do, so that I know that you're paying attention, so that I know that you're following along. I want you to text me right now or email me right now, push pause, and tell me what time you are watching this video. If it's at 3:57 in the afternoon, that's fine, okay? But I want to put a timestamp on when you are watching this video, okay? I'm going to ask you to text or email me a couple of other times throughout the video, but I'm doing this importantly so that you can tell me what time you're watching this video, okay? We're going to think about the church year teaches us how all time, this moment right now, and the moments to come, and the moments that have already occurred, how they belong to God. That's what the church year teaches us. Today is Ash Wednesday, and I want to invite you, pause for just 1 second. Tell me what time you are watching this video right now. Okay, pause. Pause. Okay. Now what I want you to do is I want you to think back over the course of this last year. Okay? Think back over the course of this last year. 2020. It's been a doozy of a year, right? What I want to ask you to do is to also respond back to me. And I'm doing this so that I know that you're paying attention. Tell me, what was the best day of this last year? I'm going to have to look up. I'm going to have to push pause for just a second, and I'm going to have to look up what was my very favorite day of this last year. I can tell you about it. It was the day when my family, we traveled to Colorado for a little bit over the summer, and we took a hike one day up to a glacier. And we hiked up to a glacier. We slid down the glacier. We put our feet in a mountain lake. It was a really neat time. And then the other thing that we did that day after we hiked up to a glacier was we drove all the way up to the very top of a mountain. It was a scary thing, but it was a really, really fun thing. It was a really, really invigorating thing. And I'm going to look up what date that was. And I'm going to come back in just a second and tell you when we did those things. Today we're thinking about time. Thinking about how all time, this moment, the moments to come, and the moments that have already occurred, how they belong to God. And we're going to do that by exploring the church calendar. So, push pause. Tell me, if you haven't already, what time you're watching this video. And tell me what was the best day of this last year. And I want to know the date, okay? I want to know the date. In 2020, what was the very best day that you had last year? July 1st. That was the date that we got to go to this really great glacier, and we got to hike up. And the reason I'm saying this is because it's important for us to think about time. That all time belongs to God. That the different seasons of our life, that God is present and is a part of all of the times, this moment, the moments to come, the moments that have already occurred. We wear different hats at different times of the year. In the spring and in the summer, I'm from Wisconsin, and so I like to cheer for the Brewers. Some of you cheer for different baseball teams. It's okay. It's well and good. In the different seasons of our life, God is present. Remember, tell me what time you're watching this movie. Tell me what was the best day of your life last year in 2020. Now, tell me, what are the different teams that you cheer for? In spring and the summer, I get really excited about the Brewers. Okay, I'm going to take you on a journey through the seasons of the church right now. In the fall and in the winter, I'm a Packer fan. All of the seasons of our lives, the spring and the summer, I want to cheer for the Brewers. The fall and the winter, I want to cheer for the Packers. They belong to God. That's what this graphic that I just showed you, that's what it teaches us, that all time belongs to God. Now, we have special dates in our lives, our birthdays, anniversaries, first day of school, last day of school, right? First day of soccer season, all that stuff, right? They're all important. When we think about this graphic that I showed you, I want to walk you through it. We think about the seasons of the church year. And it's different than the spring and fall and winter and summer. We have different seasons, the seasons of Advent and Christmas, of Epiphany, of Lent and Easter, and then the seasons of Pentecost. I learned that it's an acronym, ASLEP. It doesn't stand for anything, but Advent and Christmas, Epiphany, Lent, Easter, and then Pentecost. Those 6 seasons of the church year. And they tell us about the story of Jesus and then the story of God's people. So the church seasons start with the first season of the church year is the season of the season of Advent. It's a season of preparation. It's 4 weeks before Christmas. Now, that means that the 4 Sundays before Christmas, it's one of those movable church seasons when Advent prepares us for the coming of Christmas. 4 weeks, Advent is 4 weeks long. Then we get to the seasons or the days of Christmas. And Christmas it's 12 days long. It starts on Christmas Eve and it goes all the way through the first day of Epiphany. So Christmas Eve all the way through January 6th. December 25th to January 6th. 12 days of Christmas. Remember this. Remember that Christmas happens from the day of Christmas on. It's not the days before Christmas. The season before Christmas is Advent. So you have the time of Jesus in which we celebrate Christmas and Epiphany and Lent. Okay, those 3 seasons. Jesus' birth, his life, and then his crucifixion and his death. So we have Christmas, and then we have Epiphany. Epiphany is the time in which we study the life of Jesus. It's 5 or 6 weeks long, depending. And then we have the season of Lent. Lent begins today on Ash Wednesday, and it moves all the way through until Holy Week, until Maundy, Thursday, Good Friday, and Easter. So, as you think about Christmas, Advent, Christmas, Epiphany, and then Holy Week, what's your favorite church holiday? Okay. So far, you've emailed me or texted me what time you're watching this video. What was your very favorite day last year? And I want you to tell me what is your favorite church season? What's your favorite church day? Christmas, Easter, Maundy, Thursday, Good Friday, Pentecost. There's all kinds of Christmas days, celebrations in the life of the church year. Tell me what's your favorite. So we have the season of Advent, we have the season of Christmas, we have the season of Epiphany, and we have the season of Lent. That's the season that we're starting right now, today, this time of preparation. Now it's 40 days long. Why is Lent 40 days long? No. In the Bible, 40 days it's important. Noah and the ark. it rained for 40 days. Jesus was tempted by the devil for 40 days in the wilderness. Tell me, too, so far you've told me what time you're watching this movie. You've told me your favorite day of the last year. You've told me your favorite church year. Now I want you to tell me what's the other season, or what's the other time in the Bible that's 40, okay? What other thing happens for 40 days or 40 years? Okay, there's a couple of them, left a couple of them. I already told you about Jesus being tempted in the wilderness for 40 days. I already told you about Noah and the ark for 40 days. There's a couple other 40 days or 40 years things that happen in the Bible. Use your Google machine and tell me what are the other 40. Okay, Lent is 40 days. It's a 40-day journey. It's a preparation. It's a season of preparation. Remember, we have this season of we got this baseball season. We got this football season, right? Other season we have for me, Wisconsin Badger fan, right? So all the different seasons. Lent is a 40-day season of preparation. It prepares us for Easter. Lent is 40 days long, but then we get to Easter. Easter is 50 days long. It's 50 days long, and it's a celebration of the resurrection. Advent, Christmas, Epiphany, and Lent talk about the life of Jesus, okay? And even the season of Easter reminds us of the life of Jesus. We have those 5 seasons, and then we have the longest season of the church year. It tells about the people of God and what the people of God do and how they respond to God and God's love for the world. And that's called ordinary time, or it's kind of called the time after Pentecost. Okay. When we think about the seasons of the church year, it's important for us to remember the seasons of the church year, they don't always line up with the calendar. Sometimes the days are movable, and they rotate on Easter. Okay? Easter is always the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. Those 3 rules, okay? Easter always moves. Christmas is always the same. Christmas always comes on December 25th. But Easter is different. Okay? So I want you to tell me this. Tell me, when is Easter this year? And then look up what date is Easter next year, in 2021 and 2022. Tell me the dates of Easter. Easter is a movable feast. Okay? Around the resurrection, all of our life turns, because the story of Easter anchors the church calendar. It anchors us in the promise and in the hope of resurrection and of ascension. All right, in summary, real quick, I want you to tell me what time you're watching this movie or this video. Tell me what was your very favorite day last year. Okay. Tell me your very favorite church holiday. Okay. And then I want you to tell me what is the date of Easter this year and the date of Easter next year. The seasons of the church year tell us about the story of God and the story of God's people. Okay. They're movable, and they hinge on what day? They hinge on Easter. Okay. The promise of the resurrection anchors us. And the promise of Easter comes on the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. Okay? And it reminds us that all of time, this moment right now, the times to come, and the times that have already happened, are held in the hands of God. Have a great, God blessed and beautiful day. Remember, email me those things. Text me those answers. Do it right now. Okay? I want to know when you're watching, what your favorite day was last year, what your favorite church holiday is, and then when Easter falls this year and next year. Thanks. One other quick thing that is just going to help us. I'm going to attach this video right now. That's going to talk a little bit more about the church year.
Christians are people who tell time differently. It's not as if they avoid clocks and calendars. No one escapes that. But from the beginning, they have engaged in a very different kind of rhythm, finding themselves in a world where time has been transformed into an instrument of God's revelation. In other words, Christians made their own calendar and relived the story of God throughout the year. Let me demonstrate. So the church calendar is divided into two halves. The first half starts in December with Advent, and it stretches all the way to Pentecost in May or June. And this part of the year tells the story of Jesus, from his birth and death, his resurrection and ascension. And the second half of the year starts at Pentecost and then goes all the way to Christ the King Sunday in late November. It tells the story of God's people, the church. And for the next 6 months, the church follows this calendar and relives the story of Jesus. As any good story does, we'll start right at the beginning with chapter 1. This is where we observe the season of Advent and wait with expectation and prepare for the birth of Jesus. As chapter 1 ends, we move to chapter 2. This chapter brings news of great joy as we celebrate Jesus' birth and the feast of Christmas. We then turn the page to chapter 3. We remember the appearance of Jesus to the entire world, represented by the visiting Magi from afar. The story begins its climax with chapter 4. This ushers in the solemn season of Lent, where, like Jesus' real desert, we spend 40 days in a metaphorical desert, pulling away from created comforts to make space for God. This chapter is long and difficult, but the joy of chapter 5 is worth the wait. Jesus' resurrection from the dead makes Easter Sunday the ultimate celebration. Which then leads to the 6th and final chapter. Jesus' story concludes not only with his ascension into heaven, but with the coming of his Spirit, sent to create a new community, the church, to continue his work on earth. To listen to the church tell the story of the Lord is to listen to the Lord of the church. Reliving the first 6 chapters of the year not only shapes our worship, but it brings Christ into our very lives today. In Advent, Christmas, and Epiphany, it's as if we're with him in his birth and earthly ministry. In Lent, Easter, and Pentecost, we are again right by his side through death, burial, and resurrection. Living our faith through the lens of Jesus sanctifies our own lives. For his is an epic story of darkness and light, grief and joy, struggle and rest. It mirrors the tensions and complexity of our own stories. And through it all, we're placed right in the middle of the great drama of God's redemption of the world. So you're invited to live the Christian year these next 6 months. The ordinary season is past. It's time to inhabit the story of God.